Well. Welcome back to Crown's Crypto Cave. It is a very, actually late Tuesday morning over here from a very dark Helsinki, Finland. There's actually no sun nowadays, and I absolutely fucking love it. I don't know what it is, but just being in the dark, it boosts up the production value, I think, or at least just the production in general. Anyways, plenty to talk about today. I want to follow up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. Bitcoin did hit the 18.9 target that we laid out yesterday, now bouncing back up. But today is actually the big day, at least in my opinion right now, as we'll be speaking about soon enough. There's plenty of warning signals going around all across all of the lower and medium-term time frames. So I actually do think that we're going to be looking at a little bit of action. But which side, sir? But which side? Well, we'll be talking about that, of course. Anyways, I'd like to put the folks over here in the Crown Chain application, which we found at, hey, motherfucker. Damn computers. Got a mind of their own. Anyways, yes, putting the focus over here in the Crown Chain application, which we found at app.crownchain.net. What do we see? We do see that open interest is hanging around about 3 billion, just above 3 billion. And we still have not really seen a lower side of the open interest, kind of correlated with price action. But as far as the top side, we certainly have. We have seen about $3.25 billion as far as open interest goes, correlated with the $19,550 pivot to the upside, which I do want to see broken if we are going to see an efficacious break to the upside, then driving targets into the low $20,000 region, 22 to 23,000, not so far off the menu if that were to happen, but still a little bit of waiting to go. And with that said, the fear and greed index is once again at the all-time high, or at least the all-time high that we've seen over the last year or so, at a 95. If we go into the data tab right here, or actually before we go into the data tab, checking out the Bitcoin dominance, still pretty much the same from yesterday to today as well. Slight up right there, but very minimal. Anyways, into the data tab we go to look at some sort of canaries in this coal mine, and where are they? Only Bear or Bula Jesus knows. And sorry, someone's got to be having fun. It's too fucking early for this shit right now. Anyways, what do we see as far as the global funding rate goes? We do see that it's still, more or less not a term of consequence just yet. In fact, nowhere near at all. We do see pretty much all exchanges right around parity at 0.01%, which means no major cause for concern just right now, as we have seen in the past. Actually, last week we did see a very big cause for concern, which did correlate with the current high on Bitcoin, and that was above that critical 0.1% region, of which we saw several exchanges there. And that's kind of what we're looking for, in line with the fear and greed index, kind of where you see it right now as well, in the extremely greedy zone. And this is really starting to get kind of crazy here. We've been in the extremely greedy zone ever since November 6th, so it's been a little bit more than a month now, as we are on the 8th day of December, it looks like. Yes, indeed we are. And that means that still, it's a warning signal, but it's not actionable in and of itself. I mean, this is a very incomplete metric when it comes down to it to begin with. It's a sentiment metric, which are just notorious for being they're actually pretty good at giving you a decent idea of when to have a bit of a warning signal, but they don't act in and of themselves. So it needs to be used in conjunction with a few other things. That's why I do have the funny rate down here, and obviously price action trumps all. And with that said, we don't really have anything that's lining up with it as it is right now, but it's potential, yes. So we need to see much more before that becomes actionable at all. Anyways, I think it's almost time to get in some price action charts here. Is there anything else that I want to say? Discord, you already know. There's a link in the description of this video, and there's a video as the channel homepage video if you need a little bit of help kind of figuring out, because there is one extra step to get through the security bot. But it's been really cool to see a lot of people joining on in, and certainly it's been very overwhelming, the growth that's been happening over the last couple of months, the last few weeks especially. So I do want to welcome all the new people in, because it's been pretty fucking cool to get to know a lot of these new guys, and or perhaps it's even you, and that's super awesome. So yeah, fair enough. As long as it's all good, then it's all good. Anyways, into the price action charts we go. What do we want to see? Well, let's just see some price action, huh? Anyways, as far as the secondary charts, we did reference this yesterday, of course, but I wanted to follow up on this. Just kind of set in the higher term time frame bias. Just always reflect back around here. Weekly still good. I'm actually likely looking for probably a try towards new all-time highs on this weekly, based upon the topside Toronto band closure that we saw on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, that was following through with CMEs as well, and CME is actually kind of riding it a little bit better right there. So overall, here is another major pivot that I want to be aware of is just essentially last week's high. So I will put an alert right there. If we do take out last week's high, I would be looking for extension towards that $22,000 to $23,000 target that we're going to outlay on the lower term time frame soon enough. So if that, if that alert does get hit off, yes, I'm essentially just looking for, a little bit of a melt into the $20,000 region. Before then, though, the real question is, does Bitcoin want to pull back a little bit more? We did see that 18,900 tick that we spoke about yesterday in line with our higher low structure on the 4-hour, or what it would be on the 4-hour along the green 55 exponential moving average right here. So what does that mean after Bitcoin has essentially come back down and fulfilled that area and now pop back up? Well, it doesn't really give us all that much, to be fair. And also to be fair, Bitcoin is putting in a series of lower highs right here on the lower term timeframes. Now, is that a death sentence? Fuck no. Again, all the higher term timeframes are bullish. I want to be as fucking crystal clear as possible. And in this market right now, where in a market like this, or just in any trading market, I always want to be erring on the side of the trend, and perhaps you might find that useful as well. And in this case, that would be long-term to the upside. The question is, as we've been saying, is does Bitcoin want to play out a little bit of a greater pullback to the downside first before trying another move to the upside? Or does it just green dildo its way like a goddamn rocket ship, like some of those Twitter videos where you just see like rocket ship emojis going all the way through? Well, that is a bit more of a delicate topic here. I actually do think that it's more likely Bitcoin does come back down first. With that said, we do have some very obvious areas of interest going on right here. Obviously, this low structure right here, right around about 18,700, is still very much relevant. If we were to look at the extremely low term timeframes, like a 2-hour or even an hourly in this case, I think maybe this could work. Yeah, hourly actually could work right here. If we see any sort of a closure below this last higher low that Bitcoin set in last night, or at least the night for myself, then yes, I would be looking for an extension. Not to break this area. It would imply move down to the bottom side of this area, though, and that is, to be fair, another $300 move. So I actually will mark this area off. Typically, I don't do this on the extremely low term timeframes, but there is a bit of an edge here, and $300 on a trade is completely fine. However, what would happen, or what very much would be presented if Bitcoin does break below this level right here, is that it would change the interpretation of our current price action structure. What do I mean by that? Well, it would imply a move down here towards the 18,650-ish region, and that would start to really make this look like a descending triangle. And if this is a descending triangle, then a breakage below that critical point at 18,650 on a very low term time frame, like an hourly or 2-hour. If we're looking at a 4-hour, we can make that 18.7. Front run it by $50. Not too crazy right there, but multiple ways of doing this. Then there would be a measured move based off the formation right here, which would be pointed down towards the 17,600 or 17,700-ish region down here, which is actually really, really important because this is your long-term, or it's not necessarily your long-term pivot, but it is the pivot on the daily highly low structure, which is coming in from a historical area right around 17.7-ish region, of which if we look at the daily right here, it's quite interesting to see that the daily 21 exponential average is going to be coming in right around that region as well. Actually a little bit higher as it is right now. And if we do go on to, probably not the weekly, but if we go back down under the 4-hour, I do remember that yes, indeed, the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average are going to be moving up towards that region probably in the next day, if I had to guess, as they will just, slowly edge their way up there. Now, I want to give credit to Mr. EO of the Discord for calling this one out, and I've noticed this myself in the past, but he's the one who pointed it out just a few days ago. And it's a 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average on the 4-hour dildo time frame right here, of which we do see that the simple has crossed to the upside of the exponential, and the exponential should be, or is, by definition, by construct, is more reactive to more recent price action here, both being, higher period moving averages. I mean, they're quite literally the same, but the difference is that the 200 exponential average is going to put more weight on recent price action. So if we see that start to cross down, it does start to denote that there is a little bit of loss of momentum here. And if we do look at this cross several times in the past of Bitcoin, both to the upside and the downside, it typically does beget a nice move down, actually around that region. We do see this area right here. We see that same cross right here when Bitcoin actually played out a pretty nice move to the upside, and then boom, crash down to the 200 exponential average, puts in another lower high right here, and then ultimately crashed down a little bit more. It actually works the other side over here too, to be fair. Same thing on this one right here. Cross the upside, boom, massive move, very massive move. This one over here, we do get the bearish cross, and what do you know? Price action comes back down to these, to those magnets essentially. And same thing over here, and same thing. Can we see it? Yeah, same thing over here as well. Same thing over here. You're free to backtest this one yourself, but I do think that it's worth pointing out right here, mostly because we do see that on all lower term timeframes and maybe even the medium term timeframes as well, that a nice move is actually coming very likely today. In this next 24 hours, I do believe that there's major warning signals suggesting that it's time to be looking for, a decent move, as we do see historical volatility percentile on the 4-hour coming in from a multiple zero read as of yesterday. Now, the next big thing that I'd be looking for this to kind of denote that it's time to, it's time to be moving is I want to see the moving average start to go flat, and then I want to see it actually start to curl back up. That's going to be the next indication that we are getting ready to expand. Of course, we do have a bit of a regression to be drawn right through here as well. It's not going to be perfect, but it would suggest that somewhere right around here, which would be within the next 24 hours, actually, 24 to 36 hours is extreme likelihood to actually get that next major move. And if we do see it actually even break above this regression, then that's going to be a next melt as well, entering into perhaps a new phase in the medium-term time frame. So when we look at this and pair it up with the 3-hour, I think it becomes a lot more visually apparent. Yes, we see the same thing right here as well. Bi-hourly, same shit, actually even more aggressive, to be fair, and hourly, same thing over here as well. So all lower term timeframes are in concert with each other, and while this does not imply direction, it does imply that we are going to move rather nicely here. I mean, more than a few $100 move, if I were to call it, and a few $100 move, whether it's to the upside or the downside of our current range on the short-term structure, obviously is going to have major implications. If it's to the downside, then we very well could be looking at that 17.6, 17.7 tick, and of which I'd be oh so happy, because I've been a very patient boy for Christmas, and and I want my fucking price action. No, just kidding. But I won't play until I get my exact level. It's mine. It's like fucking Schmeagol or some shit. We have some Lord of the Rings analysis going on right here. To the upside, however, I wouldn't use this as a continuation point or a resolution point at 19.4, but I would at 19,550, the same area that we've been looking at for the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks maybe now. And if that does happen, then I am looking for those moves into the $20,000 region, actually. We'll go back to the same chart that we've been referencing for the most part here. And yes, our blue box territory that I would constitute as resolution to the upside would have 19,550. That starts to actually put into motion a measured move, which would be pointed towards the 2.272 Fibonacci extension right here. So really good confluence for that move, and that is quite literally right under 23,000 bucks. Now there would be a few points of interest for the short term on that way up. If that route were to be chosen, the 1.414 would be a very obvious choice, right around 20,500. Then we got the 2 spot right here at about just above 22,000 bucks, and then yes, the ultimate fulfilling of that move would be just under 23,000 bucks as well. So everything working together right there. And essentially what I'm saying is that whether it breaks the upside or the downside, we're looking at a relatively big move. Obviously, the move to the upside is going to be a lot more interesting and a lot more open-ended, seen as it would also enter into a blue sky breakout. And as we've seen in the past blue sky breakouts, I think that we did this yesterday. Pretty fucking impressive in Bitcoin's history. In fact, we'll just briefly go through this again. So I wanted to mark, or actually I guess I have all these areas marked off from yesterday, but anytime that Bitcoin's entered into a blue sky breakout, and I'm using the BLX index for this because it has the most well-read history of all of the Bitcoin charts, going all the way back to 2010 of July, actually. And anytime that Bitcoin's basically entered into a blue sky breakout, you can see right here, it's just been melt up phase, and we can do this percentage wise as well. I mean, this is to put things in perspective. This was when Bitcoin was literally just under 1/10 of a cent. So there you go. And once it closed on new all-time highs, we had about a 450% move to the upside before the next sort of short-term reversal. And then what do you know? This one creates a new closing high right here on the weekly, and another melt-up phase for about 225%. Not bad. Then same thing right here, just barely closes above after a short-term reversal on the weekly. It does take about 2.5 months to be fair, but major melt-up phase after that, so just above 3,000%. Not bad, if I do say so myself. And then what do we have right here? This is times getting into 2011, where Bitcoin was at the ripe old price of 18.5 bucks. And what do we see over here? Closes on new all-time highs for the weekly, and boom, massive major melt to the upside, of which this one getting even more crazy, 1,300% or just above. And what happens after that? Same shit, short-term reversal-ish, over the course of 3 to 4 months. Closes on new highs right here, and then boom, off to the races, 622%. Then the big one actually. This is where we do get a slightly different piece of behavior, however. Bitcoin does close on new all-time highs right here. Yes, very, very nice. But as you can see, does produce a bit of a fake out to the downside almost immediately. However, the trend is set in. So my point is that if Bitcoin even were to do something like that, I'd look at that next major move to the downside as an opportunity. Whenever things are in blue sky breakout territory, I become just massively bullish because, well, as you can see over the history of, and this is very, very similar to most major assets that I've traded in my life. They just continue upwards and onwards. It's the path of least resistance. You are in price discovery by fucking definition. So, in this one right here, while technically speaking, it does actually have a bit of a fake out and come back down and test the prior weekly high, actually, the trend in motion was set in stone after that. And ultimately, this was a pretty phenomenal run all the way from about just under $1,000 to $20,000. So, almost 2,000% run right there. Quite nice indeed. And what do you know? Bitcoin, as of last week, has closed on new all-time highs. This is successful right here. Our last closing all-time high was 19,029. Our new all-time closing high is 19,337, or sorry, 19,378 and 48 cents. So there you go. Anyways, my point is that yes, I am essentially looking for Bitcoin to just err on the side of the upside here. If I had to call it right now, I do think that there is going to be new all-time highs, probably even this week, and that's really fun. That's really great because Grammy is going to be really happy for Christmas because Grammy bucks are being put to good use after a very dastardly 2017, getting thrown red dildos all in her face. But now she's a good investor. Her kids are happy, and all is well and good for Christmas. I would imagine as all higher term timeframes once again are bullish. I mean, the weekly is looking strong. The monthly is looking very strong. The bi-monthly is looking incredibly strong. In fact, the bi-monthly hasn't even confirmed new all-time highs just yet, and same thing with the quarterly, all closing at the end of this month, and this is going to, assuming that all these conditions are met, with basically closing above, let's see, what is this area right here? Yeah, $16,000 on the quarterly. I'm just looking for a generally more up market into Q1 of 2021, and technically speaking, this actually would be an ascending triangle on the quarterly right here. Now, have I ever really put much emphasis on quarterly formations in Bitcoin? No, because it's a relatively young asset. So let's take this with a grain of salt right here. But let's just fuck around and do a measured move with it. Let's just fuck around and see what happens. And if this were to be confirmed, it actually would have targets pointed towards actually $23,000, which is rather interesting because that was in line with our Fibonacci extension that we saw coming out of this base right here. So, and also the measured move. So multiple points of confluence now lining up across multiple different time frames. And yes, if I did have to call things, probably in Q1 of 2021, maybe January, February, March, whatever the fuck it ends up being, I'm looking for Bitcoin price to just go up, go up. And it's one of those things. It's like you can spend all of your adult life learning how to trade, learning technical analysis, learning all of the tricks of the trade, or you can just find a bull market and and go long. And I mean, yeah, you probably want to know when things actually do turn around, because it will happen. As we saw back on over here, it certainly does happen multiple times actually. But this is one of those times where a dumb bull is going to make more money in a bull market than a smart trader or smart bear for sure. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Anyways, okay, so we haven't really even gone through the lower term time frames just yet, but let's look at momentum oscillators with all of those pivots in mind. Again, 19,550 to the upside versus, let's just say 18,7 to the downside with a short-term warning signal below 18,9 as we saw yesterday night. And let's see what we got. We got 4-hour Stokes coming down, and I'm curious what would be needed to maintain them to the down. So let's go reference Caretaker's Magic, because it does have that component here. Hey, what the fuck? There we go. Yeah, it's actually going to stay down as long as we're below 19,550, which is very interesting here, as that is also a continuation point to the upside, meaning that if Bitcoin does close above there, not only do we resolve it from a pattern perspective or just a range perspective, but also momentum starts to turn back up on the 4 hour. Not bad. Good confluence right there. What about the 3 hour? 3 hour Stochs trying to pop back up right now. In fact, it looks like hey, fuck off. It looks like they will be doing that as long as we close here or higher in the next 3 hours in the next 49 minutes of price action. Bi-hourly already doing the same thing, and hourly doing the same thing. So 4 hours kind of the odd man out right now. And what does that align with? Maybe a little more sideways within this current range between about 18.9 and 19.550. But still, I want to see them all kind of on the same side before I do look for that. But here we go again on the hourly, extremely, extremely low. Things are likely to happen probably even today, extremely likely by tomorrow, and I'd be a little bit concerned if we don't see things happen by I guess tomorrow. That would be Wednesday, so Thursday. Yeah, Thursday would be Thirsty Thursday is what it is. No, Tequila Thursday, of course. Anyways, looking at the 4 hour right here, what else do we want to see? We do see that 4 hour RSI is, okay, so we did get that fill out to the downside yesterday that we were looking for. Now, yeah, I'd probably be looking for it to try back onto the upside here. In fact, as this is constructive long term, I like it. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. In fact, if anything, it does have a short-term upside bias, and long-term it's very constructive. So that would imply the same thing. 3 hour, what do we see? We already looked at 3 hour Stochs. What about 3 hour RSI? Same thing right here. In fact, hidden bullish divergence is on the verge of being confirmed here as well, which is rather nice, and that would be good for a short-term move back up to about 19.4 most likely, at the very least, and maybe even 19.550, which would put it right at the top side of resolution of the current range. So again, everything kind of working with each other and looking more or less good. Bi-hourly, same shit. Actually already playing out that hidden bullish divergence. In fact, did we see the same thing on the 4 hour? Yeah, we did, but that's certainly already played out. But the bi-hourly is having it right now. That gave you the move all the way from hindsight trading it, 19.1 to where we're at right now, $100 move. Yeah, that's essentially what I am looking for on a bi-hourly fucking hidden call there. Hourly, what do we see right here? Same thing, same shit. And yeah, if I did have to call a short term, probably does pop back to the upside here. But again, I really would reserve judgment on the short-term timeframes for right now, as I think that the resolution for this overall range is coming relatively soon, and the easy trades within this range have mostly been had. Is patience going to be a virtue for your boy this week? Maybe not. Maybe not. And that brings me back to this point, which I think it's really important to reiterate. While I will not take trades within our current range because it just doesn't satisfy my criteria for entering into a position, I don't take trades in the middle of a range. I will wait for price action down here if I can get it. It doesn't mean that I'm destined to get it. It just means that I know that my edge there is acceptable for what I'm looking for as far as a trade goes. In this, at the same point of reference, would I take the breakout trade above here? I really rarely trade breakouts, and if I do trade breakouts, because I got in on a on a test of support before, and seeing as I didn't take the 18.9 trade yesterday, as I am, as I did want to be patient, waiting for a little bit lower or potential lower, I will, it's possible that I just don't get in a trade, and that's fair enough. There's extremely likely to be another signal at a later date and time. And I think it's also important to reiterate as well, because I think this, I also understand that, I am susceptible to the FOMO emotions, right? And I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there as well. You feel the same way. And the way that I kind of get around that is that I always have a decent amount of Bitcoin that I hold no matter what. Doesn't matter if Bitcoin's, going through a 2018 bear market, I hold it. Doesn't matter if Bitcoin's going through a parabolic market like this, I hold it. I call it my Craig stack because I won't let it go until it reaches like a Craig price. But I've never actually told him that. But there you go, Mr. Craig. I'm actually keeping a keen eye on you, sir. I'm actually keeping a keen eye on you. But yeah, it's one of those things that makes me feel like, hey, I'm never actually missing a move to the upside. It's really stored away for like a long-term, I guess, investment in some cases, which I've never really used that term as far as my own trading behaviors goes. But I do think that might be useful for some other people out there as well, because a lot of people feel the need to trade a range like this, which hasn't been all that easy, and realistically, all you got to do, or I mean, perhaps it might just assuage some of your trading fears. Just have a little bit of in that Craig stack, if you will. So get your fucking Craig stack strong, and maybe you too can have a doggy with well. Well, I won't finish that sentence, but there you go. Anyways, let's go on to the medium-term timeframes right here. And what do we got? We got actually some more constructive price action as it is right now. 12-hour Stokes looks like they do want to cross back onto the upside. More importantly, that would also be rejecting getting out of the bullish control zone, which would be bullish in and of itself. Let's see what price action would be needed to make that a reality. And yes, any sort of a closure, basically here or higher or above 19,150, will do that on the next close in 6 hours, 43 minutes, and 57 seconds. So that would very likely start to bring all of these lower term timeframes and the medium term timeframes momentum to the upside, which is going to start to look good in for a legitimate attempt to break that 19,550-ish region, and would look overall good. Again, I still do think that there could be an easy move to the downside towards that mid $17,000 region, as we did see multiple points of confluence down there. But it doesn't mean that it's destined to happen. I need to see, at the very least, a short-term range broken at 18.9, and preferably the 18.7 range broken on a 2-hour or 4-hour. And then, perhaps patience will be rewarded. But for right now, Bitcoin looking a little bit more girthy to the upside than the downside, if I had to call it. Well, then again, I flip-flop on this all fucking day, really. But I can make a good case for both sides, to be fair. But all higher-term timeframes are bullish, and that's usually what does make me a little bit more convicted, I suppose. Looking at the daily right here, what do we see? We see daily Stokes. Still up, actually. What would be needed for them? Oh, wow. As long as we close above 19,000 today, remains the upside. So fair enough. Not bad. And actually, let's see what the daily on the Trollinger Bands would be suggesting here, as well as that is going to be your topside target, very likely. Wow. 20,100. Moon boobs are on the way, motherfuckers. No, just kidding. Well, I mean, they probably very much are. It's just the timing is, or the question is, as it has been for the last couple of weeks, does Bitcoin get a move to the downside first, or is it just rocket dildo emojis? See, it's a 2-day saying, or do we see anything on daily RSI? A little bit of hidden bullish divergence, but fair enough. I don't really have anything major to talk about right there. What about daily Joule? Could actually be lining up for a sell signal relatively soon too. So that is maybe the most damning thing. We are seeing 12-hour HVP coming down rather aggressively there, but still not really in the kill zone just yet. What about the CMEs right here? CME actually did have a pretty decent sell signal right there too. Is Crown going to get his good boy target? Oh my god, I've been racking up so many fucking good boy points. Come on, dildo Santa, send it my way, you little fuck. Sorry, I say that with respect, dildo Santa. But do we see the same sort of signal on daily for CMEs? No, but it will be building. It will be building. However, it still has to curl around, so it's probably not happening for, I don't know, for another 10 days or so. What's the 18th? Yeah, that'll be end of next week, actually. So at least a week if that is going to happen. 12-hour, but it'll obviously tell you a little bit sooner than that. I want to see the ping start to curl down as well. And if that does happen, then yes, perhaps we actually do get it. Still got that gap fill to be aware for my gap boys out there, and multiple points of confluence to the downside. So I still remain open-ended here. And and the levels are rather well documented. So I think it's just best to kind of leave it at that. Buy daily, same shit. 3-day, same shit. Actually, 3-day just closed on spot price action here too. Yeah, this is continuation. I mean, do we get another move down to the 10 simple? Maybe, but even now, 17.6 seems a little bit. It doesn't just seem a little bit, but it seems very unlikely if we are going to continue from here. This still looks more or less good. And 3-day, oh my god, 3-day still going to probably cross back onto the upside. That's some wild shit over there. That is some wild shit for sure. 28 minutes into this bitch, and I've just been talking all sorts of. I've been talking your fucking face off. Let's go check out what is it? MicroStrategy. Okay, so this is going to be a lot bigger of a focus going onwards and forwards from here. MicroStrategy is basically, in some ways, like an ETF for Bitcoin already on traditional markets, as they hold a shit ton of Bitcoin, actually a metric shit ton of Bitcoin. Anyways, Do we see anything of note here? Hold on, I do want to mark off this area. Let's mark off this area. Ooh, kitchens. We got some forks getting ready. Did we break this historical area right here already? Let's go see. So we marked it off. No, technically not. So we are still kind of at that same relevant pivot. Grinding up against it like this is rather bullish, yes. However, I would be defensive against a pullback back down to 280. That would be a major opportunity, though. This is bullish as bullish dildos get. But oh yeah, and we actually did close on new highs on the monthly here too. So yeah, if it does come back down, which it actually does already look like it kind of filled to the downside at 300. Let's see what our closing price was, 310. Okay, very interesting. Yes, it very likely does break to the upside here, so fair enough. All right, so there's your ETF. It's bullish as well. All right, nice one. Let's look at tech sector. Tech sector looking good, looking very good actually. Still looking for a retest of the prior all-time high at 127.75. And let's go check out Nasdaq, which is the greater portion of the XLK is a portion of Nasdaq after all. And what do we have here? We said new all-time highs coming in this week. We got new all-time highs. Still looking at an overall target of just above 13,150. And I remain with that. This is bullish. This is bullish. We can move this point up right here because all those lower ones are not necessarily as relevant anymore, or at least not as long as we're above this area right here. And yeah, just generally looking for some more upside. In fact, let's just get rid of these. I want to clean up my charts. My charts must be nice and pretty. And there we go. All right, that's good enough for now. All right, what about SPY futures? Oh, are we still bullish on this? Yes, actually, in fact, definitely bullish on this still. Let's see, what was our measured move to the upside here? I'll do a very bad one. Actually, significantly higher, in fact. Up to the 2.414, which is into the 3,800-ish level. Now, I imagine that we might be running into a little bit of divergences here. Nope. Actually, is this even a possible one? 69.11, 69 even? Yeah, no, it's not even possible right there. So fair enough. Does it have short-term pullbacks? Yeah, short-term pullbacks, maybe 36.30, 36.50-ish region, but ultimately higher as she goes. Yeah, any sort of a backfill in last week's open would be good, but still bullish on this one. Still new all-time highs. Still nice and girthy, sir. Very nice and girthy. Gold. Crown's going to be wrong about on gold, I think. Yeah. Well, not just yet, but it probably going to be wrong in gold. Probably going to be wrong in gold. Did we actually get the low at 1750? We did call a bounce there, but not a reversal. I'll still stick with what I said earlier. I'll call a reversal here if we see this weekly close above 1860. Yeah, pretty much where we are right now. But I'd still be defensive on this one. But it's possible with a few days left to trade here. What about, do we want to look at Microsoft? Sure, let's look at Microsoft. Still crawling its way to the upside here. Yeah, I'll still be erring on the side of the upside, somewhere right around 218, 219-ish region short term. What about Tesla? Green dildos galore. I don't even have targets on this one anymore. It's just kind of in melt up phase right now. This is that blue sky breakout that we were talking about earlier. Short term pullbacks are to be bought. At least for the short term. Do we want to look at Link really quick? Link just grinding out the lows. Let's actually see what the Satoshi pairing's looking like. This one's still in trouble. I think that we had a death cross on the daily impending. Uh-oh, it's coming, baby. This is very likely to break down. This is what you're looking for. HVP incredibly low. As we grind up the lows, death cross impending, and looking all kinds of weak. So I would say that this one's likely to come down to the next major level, probably somewhere around the mid to low 50,000 Satoshis region. Does it play out another short-term bounce here? Maybe, but lower as she goes, I do believe. I would be looking for the monthly 21 at some point, and that could be your next big bounce, or very likely to be your next big bounce, maybe a reversal, maybe. But very, 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 very strong likelihood for a bouncy bounce. So somewhere between about 52 and 54. Let's look at Mr. Buterol, as he typically does lead. And where are you, you fuck? No, seriously, where are you? Okay, there we are. Found it. Nice one. Same, kind of the same thing here too. Looks like it is short-term topping. What about a weekly? Yeah. I do think that this one comes back down to like 2,880,000 Satoshis. Again, that doesn't mean that I'm bearish on the US dollar pairing. Whatever Bitcoin does, these altcoins are likely to mirror on the US dollar pairing. If I'm looking at Mr. Buterol, bullish. Any sort of a move back down to like 575, I'd be looking to at the very least play a bounce. Long term, $800 is a legitimate, not even long term, like medium term, $800 is a target. And then above there, we can talk about parabolic moves once again. 4 hour is doing what? Just gliding sideways. Again, does it want to come back down with Bitcoin to like 535? Maybe, but that would be an opportunity. Short term, does it look like it's trying to set another higher low right here? Possibly yes. Actually. So, again, long term it's bullish. Short term, does it want to take a stab back down to like 540 or 535? That's up for Bola and Barra Jesus to decide. But I'm just going to be playing on the peripheries of these and not taking positions as it is right now. I think that's it. Let's go back to Bitcoin, and it's time to wrap the bitch up. Okay, how do we want to start this? Let's go back on over here. Let's wrap this bitch up, sir. Okay, weekly, Bitcoin closing above the topside Toronto band. Once again, I always do want to reflect upon that because it does set in the long-term bias for this as looking for new all-time highs, probably even over these next few weeks, and if I had to call it, maybe even this week as well. Looking at the low-term timeframes right around here, we did see our target of 18,900 be hit yesterday, bouncing off the 55 exponential average, and as it is right now, Bitcoin does have a higher low in place on the 4 hour. However, the ranges are still very much the same here, and 19,550 would still be my upside resolution for the short term. Preferably, I'd want to see a higher term time frame close above that region. However, if Bitcoin does close above this region, not only would it be resolving not just a historical resistance, but also a pattern. And also, when we do look at this, it does have, it would start to turn momentum oscillators back onto the upside above that region as well. As we looked at the daily is going to turn up just anywhere above 19,000 bucks essentially, but the 4 hour would start to turn back up above that level as well. So we'd see both momentum oscillators turn to the upside above that region, plus structure being broken, plus pattern also being resolved, and that would have implications with driving targets much higher, actually, all the way to the 272 Fibonacci extension right here, just under 23,000 bucks. Also in line with the measured move off this formation, and also what else do we have? Actually, no, we do have. There's something else that was coming in there too, but it slipped my mind, but it's somewhere in this video, so there you go. Have a nice little treasure hunt on your hands. Anyways, for the short term, however, I would not necessarily just be blindly calling some upside right here. There is a couple ways that I would be warning of downside, and first and foremost, we do see that all lower term timeframes, HVP, are suggesting that we're going to get a move probably within these next 24 hours as it do span across the 4, 3, 2, and 1 hour, all extremely low. So it is red light. It's red light district right now, and with that said, if I was looking at the low-term timeframes, and if I were looking at these as playable, which actually, in my opinion, they are right now, then a break below our current higher low, which is 19,550, or sorry, not 19, but 18,950 right here, then I would be looking for another test back down towards the 18,650-ish region right here. That is very interesting because it would start to make this look at like a descending triangle. So that is the short-term bearish narrative of this, not to be confused with the bearish narrative at all, because long-term, all higher-term timeframes are bullish here. But if this area were to break, this would imply as a descending triangle, which is a little bit of a distribution pattern, not anything too crazy right here, probably not a death sentence either. But if we do start to break this area right here, which would imply, then there is a measured move to be made all the way back down to the upper $17,000 region, low $18,000 region, which is also in line with our 4 hour 200 simple and 200 exponential average, which is going to be coming around right around there. Also in line with our fib retracement at the 382 right here, and also in line with our daily 21 kind of looming within that region as well. So plenty of points of confluence, and also the gap fill on CMEs right here as well in that upper $17,000 region. So with all of that in mind, I still do remain a little bit more on the neutral side. If I had to call it right now, I mean, what I want to happen is Bitcoin to come down so I can play that position down there. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin doesn't have to do what I want it to do. And generally speaking, if I have to err on the side of the trend right now, it would be to the upside. So with that said, I will be leaving this one off. I hope this one serves you well. And until next time.